You landed haymakers on Joe Biden. How do you go from being such a passionate opponent?
It was a debate.
Considered the most liberal United States senator.
Somebody said that, and it actually was Mike Pence on the debate stage.
Yeah. Well,
with the laugh. That's so funny. She kept laughing. Is there something wrong with her, too?
The media said Joe Biden's president.
Is there something wrong with her? She kept laughing.
The media said what?
And now, Matt Wright and Spike Cohen.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and welcome to the Vanguard. For Spike, my favorite Spice Girl was Scary. Cohen, I am Matt Wright, and together we are traversing the muddied waters of freedom.
Folks, thanks so much for tuning in. This is, of course, a Muddy Waters Media production. We are happy to see you. Be sure, man, I got a lot of chest hair going on right now. Did not. Thanks so much for tuning in. That was deep. Thanks so much for tuning in. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, comment, do all the things that help the algorithm to let big tech know that you're not going to put up with their crap and you're going to use all of their platforms all the time. That'll show them. And if you are watching, whatever you are watching or listening to this on, then be sure to like us, follow us, subscribe to us, whatever else. And if it's on YouTube, don't forget, hit the bell. You want to hit that bell? I want your phone to explode every time we go live. So thank you so much.
From one to Spike's chest hair, how free are you? Oh, that's...
Close about halfway there. Yeah,
that's good. First and foremost, allow me to thank the wonderful people at siestacava.com for the kava that I am drinking on today's episode. It's siestacava.com. If you are one of the few who has not tried the Libertarian Kool-Aid, I recommend going to siestacava.com.
Libertarian Kool-Aid. And I would like to thank Martinelli's for this delicious...
I legit thought that was a Miller High Life.
No, I don't drink. I
know you don't.
Were you scared for a moment?
I was like, whoa.
Is this what we're doing now? We're just drinking again? I would like to thank Martinelli's Northwest Blend Sparkling Apple Juice for this thing that I drink way too much of. And it contributes to my having a few too many pounds on. Bulavanaka.
Bulavanaka.
I drink about 4 or 5 of these a day for no good reason. I used to say, I'll drink one to reward myself for, completing a time. No, I just drink them a lot now. I just drink them every... They're good. This episode is brought to you by the Libertarian Party Waffle House Caucus, the fastest growing waffle-related caucus in this or any party in any country ever. Become an official member of the Libertarian Party Waffle House Caucus by going to the Facebook group, which is coincidentally named the Libertarian Party Waffle House Caucus. If you want to become an official voting member, whatever that means, be sure to go to muddiedwatersmedia.com/store, and you can buy some Libertarian Party Waffle House Caucus buttons and, is it shirts or hats? I always forget.
Shirts.
Get some shirts. The Gravy King. Cumberland Cannabis, who sells CBD gummies. Tennessee CBD gummies. Google that to find out what that means. You can get some delicious Cumberland Cannabis gummies by going to cumberlandcannabisco.com. That's cumberlandcannabisco.com. We should probably put that on the...
Yeah, we should probably put that on the graphic.
Joe Solosky is running for Pennsylvania's governor. Joe Solosky is the key for Pennsylvania's success, and if you'd like to help him, go to Joe Solosky, JoeSoloski.com to see how you can help him. The most appropriately named sponsor we have or will ever have, Mudwater. If you woke up today and said, my God, if I don't drink another coffee ever again in my whole godforsaken life, it'll be one too many. Well, that's kind of gruesome, but I have some good news for you. If you were instead wanting to drink a coffee alternative that has nothing in it but masala chai, cacao, mushrooms, turmeric, sea salt, cinnamon, and literally nothing else but those things in whatever combination mixture they put them in, then I have great news for you. If you go to muddywatersmedia.com/mud, you can buy literally that in a tin. It's called Mudwater. It is not terrible. It's actually better than one might think reading that. So go to muddywatersmedia.com/mud to get your Mudwater today. Jack Casey is... Well, tell us about Jack Casey, Matt.
So Jack Casey wrote this book called A Royal Green, which unfortunately is not about weed or anything having to do with weed, which I know is devastating for all the libertarians out there in the world. Yeah. But you could possibly get high on the action, romance, adventure, swords, magic, conspiracy, political tension, and all that dark, sexy, sci-fi, fantasy stuff that you've always wanted to read about, but never wanted your friends to make fun of you. All that to be said, because I'm not finishing the rest of this one, Jack Casey is allegedly in jail or prison. I don't really know. I kind of missed out on part of this conversation, and details were kind of fuzzy, but he can only have cash bond. So if all of you go to theroyalgreen.com and purchase copies of his book, hopefully he can raise enough money to bond out. So go to theroyalgreen.com and get Jack his bond money.
Is Jack really in jail?
I can neither confirm nor deny that he was with me when we planned this.
Help bail out Jack.
Help bail out Jack Casey.
TheRoyalGreen.com. And also, if you buy enough copies of this book, of these books, on book 3, he will call it Crowned by Mud, which will make it a much more absurd book, but it's the power of capitalism.
It's the
power of the market.
It is the power. It is. If you demand it, he will do it.
And of course, personal injury attorney Chris Reynolds, attorney at law. If you are in Florida and you want to sue someone, chrisreynoldslaw.com. Have a good reason. Don't waste his time. Don't waste the man's time. He's trying to sue people for like legit reasons. So go in there with a good, solid suit. Don't
call if you watched last week's episode and you're like, "Oh, I was personally injured by Spike's producing."
Episode. Yeah, no, we don't.
Right? No. Like if you're actually legitimately if you're legitimately injured, then please, yes.
In fact, if you try to sue us for last week's episode, we'll use Chris Reynolds to counter sue you, and we'll get money from you. So that's how good he is. ChrisReynoldsLaw.com. So we have a fantastic guest, actually.
We do have a fantastic guest. We have a wonderful guest. She is currently running for Congress as a Libertarian in Pennsylvania's 12th Congressional District. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome with me and with Spike, Ms. Liz Terwilliger.
Did we say that correctly?
You did say that correctly.
Yes.
Good
okay.
job.
Liz Terwilliger. Liz, thank you so much for coming on the show.
I just want to say, Liz, that earlier today I was on Clubhouse talking with some people who are watching the show as we speak. And when I said that you were going to be the guest, One of the guys in the clubhouse said, "Did you say Liz Terwilliger is going to be on?" And I said, "Yeah, why?" And he goes, "My daughter voted for her." So you got
you're one more closer.
You're one closer. You got Jimmy's daughter.
And it was as a write-in, so that's good. Hopefully in the district.
Awesome. So Liz, tell us a little bit about yourself. Whenever we have a libertarian on for the first time, we always ask, what is it that brought you to libertarianism and the LP? Was it, an aha light bulb moment or kind of a gradual evolution over time? Tell us the Liz Terwilliger genesis story.
Well, I think I became a libertarian in my middle school civics class, but I was a Democrat off and on for many years because I couldn't truck with the Republicans on social issues. But I had enough during the Hillary debacle, the primary, that kicked me out when they had released the tapes, the emails and everything. But just the whole insider shenanigans, it just showed that, it doesn't matter. Both sides are just garbage. So I was ready to turn away and come to liberty. So here I am.
Well, that's awesome. That's great. We're glad to have you. And you are running for the Pennsylvania in the 12th district for the, is that for the House? The Pennsylvania House?
No, that's for regular House, federal House.
U.S. House of Representatives.
Oh, this is you. We need to start putting
I'm currently walking. But yeah.
Okay, so you're running for Congress to represent Pennsylvania's 12th Congressional District. What is it that inspired you to run for that office? What are the things that you want to change if you get elected to that?
So my current representative inspired me to run for this office during Trump impeachment part 1. Yeah. I messaged him because he drank the Kool-Aid. And so everything was the Republican Party line. And I wanted to know why he felt that impeachment was an unconstitutional process, given that it's, in the Constitution. But I couldn't get an answer. So I was really upset and I was complaining about it a lot, apparently. And my husband told me I needed to do something or stop complaining. So I decided to run against him last time. And they kicked me off the ballot. Thank you for coming to Williamsport and helping me collect signatures, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but, that was fun.
We ended up 20 signatures short after the challenge. So I was a write-in. And he's still not representing or responding to the people of the district. So here I am again, knocking on his door.
So who is your current representative?
Fred Keller.
Okay.
So now keep in mind that he gets on the ballot, for this, but for those who don't know this, he's on the ballot automatically because he's a Republican and he gets his party's nomination. He's on the ballot automatically. You had to get, how many signatures did you have to get?
So I was lucky last time because he won in a special election. So I only needed 1,800 signatures. Valid signatures.
Which means you really need 4,000 signatures to hold up the challenge, because more than likely you had way more than 1,800, but after they challenged the signatures, you got down to 20 less. Now, that 20 short was enough for them to go, no, sorry, Liz, the American people only should have 2 choices for Congress because you fell short 20 signatures after we ravaged the list of signatures that you brought to us.
Right. Which was still, almost 800 more than he collected, but,
Exactly.
Well, then I shouldn't say.
Yeah.
I don't know how many he actually collected. Probably none.
Yeah, I was going to say not many.
Probably none. Yeah. So you are, besides running to read the Constitution and know what it says, what are some of the things that you'd like to change when you get elected?
So the bedrock of my campaign is to make legislation more transparent so that people are more engaged in the process and can participate in the conversation. So we have so Biden is great for this because he's given me all this fodder to work with, because we have these humongous packages, right, of legislation and nobody knows what's in them. Yep. And so you can't have a conversation with somebody about the infrastructure bill because invariably you're going to miss something and they're going to be like, aha, but because you don't know what's in there. Right. So people don't want to engage. But if we took it one piece at a time, some of that maybe we want, I don't know. but probably not the whole package. But
right.
What's more important to me is that we get people to engage in the conversation. So that's really the bedrock of my campaign, is bringing people into the process and making them understand that this is important to them. It affects their lives.
And a big part of that would more than likely be requiring that legislation be one item at a time instead of these big omnibus legislation that literally no one ever reads. Like it's functionally impossible for people to read a 40,000 or 60,000 or 150,000 page document. No one has ever read it. They've read the parts that they've added to it and amended to it, but the actual legislation itself, it would take months or years for someone to read, and they give people a few hours to review it before they go to a party line vote. So you would require that every single bit of legislation is its own standalone item.
Absolutely. And things like in the COVID relief package, the lovely money that's going to start coming around for parents, that $300 a kid that starts in July, I think. Yeah. That was something that, probably we should have talked about, but it was hidden in that COVID relief package. So people didn't know it was there. But those kinds of big policy changes, they deserve debate and discussion.
So then you disagree that we need to pass it to find out what's in it?
I think legislators should probably know what's in it too before they vote on it.
One would think.
You would think they would want to know, but apparently they don't. They just do whatever they're told.
Is your campaign slogan "Bring America Together" again?
No, but I do have a bumper sticker that says that. My campaign slogan is "A representative, not a politician."
Okay. Yeah, because somebody in the comments said that she bought your "Bring America Together Again" puzzle keychain, and I was like, I like BATA.
Yeah.
Be a member of the BATA group.
So according to Ryan in the comments, you collected 900 signatures on your own?
Yeah, I did last year.
I think I got maybe 200, and I was there for about maybe 100 to 150. I actually probably closer to 100, and I was proud of myself. I had not actually done ballot signatures before, and I actually went to Brian and asked him his tips on how to do it, because he's a wizard at it. And I thought I did 900.
Yeah, when we lost our ballot access case, so Pennsylvania, sued the state over ballot access because of COVID to try to get signature relief. And we lost because apparently it's not a big deal to collect signatures in a pandemic.
During a pandemic when you're not allowed to be around people. Yeah.
Yeah. So I got kind of upset about it, and I took my petitions with me everywhere I went. So if I stopped to get gas, I'd ask the folks at the gas station to sign my petition. If I, literally everywhere I went, I had to ask everyone attitude. So
that is incredible. And if the
purpose... I have to say, I have worked on numerous campaigns here in Florida, from the city council level up to governor. Most of the candidates that I have worked for, they're happy to go door to door, but they are not 900 signatures happy to go door to door.
That's a different level.
They're 50 to 100 signatures happy, but they're happy to have you go out and do it for 900 to 1,000 signatures with no problem. But if you are out there just going, I'm asking everybody, I'm getting signatures, I respect the hell out of you as a candidate.
I like collecting signatures. I like to have a reason to walk up to people and talk to them. And the great thing about being third party is we get signatures from everybody. So I'm spreading the word to Democrats and Republicans because they want to know. As if they're voting for me when they sign my piece of paper. They want to know everything I stand for. And, so it's a great way to have a conversation with people you wouldn't normally talk to.
So you weren't just asking for signatures. You were literally campaigning. And I would go up to people and say, hey, how are you doing? Can I get a favor? My friend Liz is running for office, and she can't get on the ballot unless these signatures get signed. It's this stupid rule. You got to get signatures signed to be able to put her on the ballot. And they go, yeah, okay, sure. You're actually going Wow.
But I'm collecting for me, which makes a difference, when you're saying,
no, that's true.
Hey, I'm running for Congress, and they're like, I'm not signing your thing. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, no, I did the hey, can you help me out? My friend over here is trying to run. If I had, I don't think I had 900 conversations about why I'm running for vice president in me for the few days I was in Pennsylvania. Holy crap. That is incredible, Liz. So you clearly are dedicated to this. This is obviously, what you are here for is to spread the message of liberty. And I know people are excited to help you. How can people help you? Where should they go? Your social media, your website, so forth, to help you in your run.
So if people go to LizTerwilligerForCongress.org, everything is off of there. You can find our social media links, our donation page, our shop where you can get some really cool bumper stickers. My favorite one right now is Equal Rights for Everyone, but there's also Make Orwell Fiction Again. There's some really fun libertarian themed bumper stickers there. You can sponsor my miles for my walkathon. I'm walking to Washington, D.C. right now.
Oh, wow.
Anything for a buck, because, my opponent, I usually call him he who shall not be named, but we named him. But anyway, he spent over $1 million in the campaign last year, and the Democrats spent $35,000, and we spent $6,000. So we're really trying to raise money because we're running to win, and we need money if we're going to win. So that's why we're starting now and not in 2022 when we're actually running. That
is awesome, Liz. Thank you. Well, yeah, we will try to get you as much help as we can. It is in the comments. Liz Terwilliger, FOR, not the number 4Congress.org. And it's Terwilliger, TerWilliger. I'm telling myself that.
GER.
GER.
What'd I say? GIR?
We're so close.
You said GR. You skipped a vowel.
I said GR.
I
said a long...
okay. We'll get the instant replay on that.
We're going to slow that down in post.
GER.
Yeah. Oh, you know what else people can find on my website? Is that Spike and Tasha Cohen are going to be at Perspectives on Freedom in September with us in Williamsport, Jersey Shore. So people can take advantage of early bird pricing and sign up.
Yes. And that's happening on the
September 17th to the 19th.
September 17th.
To the 19th. Yep.
Through the 19th.
I knew that. You're committed to 3 days.
I didn't know that yet, but I No, that's great. No, listen, I'm happy to be back in Pennsylvania. I had such a good time there when I was there last August. So I'm happy to be back at the Pennsylvania fundraiser on the Williamsport.
It's Perspectives on Freedom. So it's we're calling it American Values Forum. It's an issues discussion forum.
Okay.
So it's going to be a lot of fun.
I'm super excited now. I had no idea. All right, well, cool. I'm looking forward to that. Well, then I will get to see you.
Yeah. You have to check out the Smash event that you're going to be involved in Friday night. So
I will do that. I will check out the Smash event that I'm going to ask Brian about as soon as this show is over.
One of our Lycoming County affiliate members owns a Smash therapy business where people go smash things therapeutically.
Oh, wow.
So they're hosting we're doing a fundraiser for community nonprofits. We're going to ask you and Tasha to each pick a nonprofit, and we're going to have a Smash therapy fundraiser. So you can smash stuff with a baseball bat.
Other things,
yeah.
Not all.
At least one plate that you can write something on and smash it. Yeah. They're not smashing you.
Okay, but not. My wife and I aren't getting smacked. Well, not there.
No.
Not in public like that.
Not like that. That's
no.
No, but you're going to be welcome to take baseball bats to bottles and.
That I will do all day long.
Yeah. See,
I'm super excited.
So it's like a rage room.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait.
Go to the website, check it out.
Because I have a lot of rage pent up, and I look forward to that. So Liz Terwilliger for Congress.org, spelled TerWilliger.org. It took me a while to do Joe Solosky, so I need some time. But okay. That's in the comments, and I will see everyone out there in Pennsylvania, September 17th to 19th. I knew that. Liz, thank you so much for coming on again. We had a lot of fun talking with you. Thank you again.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. That was fun. That was oh, I have to do the thing.
Yeah, you have to do the other thing.
I have exactly. See? Oh, wow. This is way. Oh, man.
Look how neat and clean that is.
Look, isn't this show so clean and spiffy now, folks? None of you were upset or anything, but now look at how beautiful.
Look at how nice it is and how organized it is. And it's like we listened to what people were saying.
Almost like we were listening. We weren't, though, but whatever.
We could have been.
We don't even care. But speaking of being organized, we have the next segment, because we have segments on this show. This one being called I didn't make this thing. It's called the Mudwater Coffee Alternative Masala Chai Cacao Rapid Fire segment, brought to you by Mudwater Coffee Alternative, filled with these things that are listed out here and nothing else. MuddyWatersMedia.com/mud to buy the most delicious thing to ever look and taste like coffee, but have mushrooms and salt in it. Yum. Matt?
Yum.
Yum.
So I don't know how many of you out there know this, but or how many of you pay close attention to our social medias. But if you are one of the many who pay close attention, you already know this. In 2 weeks-ish, June 13th, I don't know how many, that's 12 days from now, in about 2 weeks.
In less than 14 sleeps.
Right. We are going to be airing a brand new show here on Libertarian Network. Nope. On Muddied Waters Media.
That is not the name.
That is not the name of the company that I started. Here on Muddied Waters Media, we're going to have a brand new show. It stars the Cajun Libertarian and the Eskimo Libertarian. It's going to be at, I believe, 3 p.m. Eastern.
Yes. Starting Sunday, June 13th at 3 p.m. Eastern is Cajun and Eskimo from Bayou to Igloo.
Bayous to Igloos with Cajun and Eskimo. We are very excited about this. Like I'm not going to lie. When we were in Clubhouse... I was in Clubhouse. I was at work and I was just kind of listening to Clubhouse, room in Clubhouse while I was working. And I heard them start talking about a show that they wanted to do. And I picked up my phone and I texted Spike and I said, hey, what would you think about adding them to Muddied Waters? And he said, yeah, that'd be cool. I believe that was his exact quote, yeah, that'd be cool. And I said, okay. So as soon as I was on like my lunch break or something, I went out and I talked with Cajun. And I said, hey, would you guys want to do this on Muddied? And it took some negotiating, some very tough negotiating on my part. Because he was like, no, I want to do this on my own because I'm a Cajun. And I was like, man, but you could just do it on ours. And he was like, but no. And after a while,
I had to contact him and beg him.
Right. Yeah. And there was like,
but I'm such a rugged individual. And I'm like, yeah, but we could help.
Like, I put so many spices on my seafood.
Yeah. And he's like, my show is cayenne pepper. And it was like, that's fine. But we also could help you. And after what felt like months of really intense, grueling negotiations, Nullick was fine with it the whole time. But
yeah, she was like, yeah, no, we should do this. And Kate was like, no, we're doing this.
Started the show and Noel was like, no, I'm from the Bayou. And we were like, none of these are reasons not to be on Muddied Waters. But after months of that, seemingly, it was actually hours, but it felt like months. We were finally able, minutes. It felt like it was months. We finally chiseled, if you will, this deal for lasting peace in our time. And a show on Sunday afternoon.
At 3 p.m. Eastern.
So
and some
really
of the stuff that
excited.
they pitch, I'm not even going to, I'm okay. So I'm going to do that horrible thing that people do. I'm not going to tell you what it is that they've pitched on things that they're going to do on their show, but I'm excited to watch these. Like, I am super excited to watch this. And I don't want to ruin their show, like spoil anything about their show. I'm going to let them tease whatever it is that they want to tease about it. But I am super excited about this. And I am very happy that they are now a member of the Muddied Waters family. And we welcome them wholeheartedly to the Muddied Waters family. And we hope that this lasts until the world ends.
Yes. And a reminder for Eskimos and other people in Alaska, that's like 11 in the morning on Sunday.
Yes.
And it's actually the previous Sunday because they're 7 days behind us. No. It is. I'm super excited. So be sure to tune in Sunday, June 13th at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Eastern Daylight, whatever, which Eastern. And you will get to watch the thing that we literally begged Cajun to do with us.
He put up quite the battle, but you know what? We broke him down, and he is now.
He actually physically punched the air while we were talking. He said, "I live near alligators," and we're like, again, none of this is a reason.
So do we.
This has nothing to do with the terms of a partnership agreement.
Right. So they will be joining us. Make sure that you tune in June 13th, 3 p.m. Eastern. If you're in the frozen tundra of Alaska, that would be 11 a.m. And you too can enjoy.
If you're on the left coast, it's noon.
For many of you left coasters, it'll be a great way to wake up.
You soy boys, it's at noon. So we're really excited about that. But you know what we're not excited about?
He said somehow this now feels like a real historical event.
It is. No, this is a big deal. Speaking of historical events, the Supreme Court decided unanimously that tribal governments and their police officers have the power to temporarily detain non-Indians suspected of breaking federal or state laws within reservations.
Now, what I learned by this is that they weren't already allowed to do that.
Yeah. In breaking news, tribal governments and police officers were not allowed to detain non-Indians suspected of breaking federal or state laws, making them completely different from literally any other police officer ever.
Yeah. So this started from a case, Cooley, United States versus Cooley. Cooley was arrested on Indian reservation. He was stopped and he ended up being searched by a native police officer who was a member of the reservation's police squad. The defense suggested that the officer should have assessed Cooley's Indian status and then let him go upon realizing he was a non-Indian unless the officer actively witnessed him committing the crime. A framework that the prosecuting jurisdiction, the United States, argued was unworkable and unsafe for officers and tribal communities, which I get that. Like, if you don't see them committing the crime, but you suspect them. So that was the argument, was he did not hold Indian status. Therefore, he should not have been able to be held by the native police officers. So they ended up ruling that no, they can do that. Unfortunately, the federal crime was the arrest led to prosecution on federal drug and firearm charges, which I feel like he shouldn't have been arrested for. But at the same time, if it's there, like, why wouldn't they be allowed to do this already?
So this is the thing. There's two issues here. Drugs and guns should not be crimes. Those are victimless crime laws. But let's pretend for a moment that we, got rid of all victimless crime laws. So the only laws on the books are laws that are, where crimes are things where you have a victim, rape, murder, extortion, theft, assault, something like that. And someone has committed a state or federal crime of hurting someone and then escapes to a native reservation. Do the natives there have the police there, or the natives there have the power to be able to detain someone who's suspected of actually hurting someone? And in that case, our overwhelming answer would be, yeah, why wouldn't they? Why would the fact that someone imagine you go to Pennsylvania. When I'm in Pennsylvania and they say, oh, and if I were wanted for something in another state and I went, well, you can't arrest me, I'm not Pennsylvanian. Like that doesn't make any sense.
It makes no sense.
Yeah. Or even if I go to, because, the argument is, well, the tribal nations are their own sovereign nations. Well, they're kind of not. If they are, treat them that way, but that's a whole other subject. But if I go to Canada and I'm wanted for something back in the States and they want me, and the Canadian police arrest me, I can't go, you can't arrest me, I'm not Canadian. So it doesn't make any sense.
No sense.
Wouldn't be able to.
But apparently it's been an issue in the past. Because why else would this become an argument where they needed to rule on it?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So for those of you who've been skipping to the native reservations to get away from the feds, turns out you can't do that anymore.
Can't do that. No. Cannot do that. They can't arrest you and detain you there.
They can't arrest and detain you there now. So now what we have to do is fight to turn native reservations into sanctuary nations for all these crimes. Then we're getting somewhere. Then they're choosing not to. Speaking of sanctuary nations, later this month on my birthday weekend, June 25th to 27th, I am going to be in Michigan where is this in Michigan? At the Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. It's in like central Michigan. I'm not sure
It's in Michigan.
It's in Michigan, but it's in the Saginaw Chippewa Tribal Nation. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Why would the Libertarian Party of Michigan have their convention at a native reservation? Well, because it's Michigan, and right now, indefinitely, the state is locked down, and you can't have any events there, even though COVID is very much on the decline, and Michigan has demonstrated that the lockdowns have done nothing to slow the spread of COVID. That is not stopping Gretchen Whitmer and her terrible husband from continuing to impose themselves on the lives and rights and property of the people of Michigan. But the Saginaw Chippewa Nation said, hey, screw you. We're a sovereign nation. We do what we want. And Michigan has repeatedly tried to order them to comply with the COVID orders that were ruled unconstitutional about a year ago. And the Saginaw Nation said, no, screw you. We're our own tribe. So I'm all about tribal sovereignty. If for no other reason than they routinely thumb their nose at state and federal laws and mandates. So that was a shameless plug.
Robin Dominic said that she heard that the Soaring Eagle Casino has really good pizza.
Yes.
Because of Whitmer's thing last week.
Oh, okay.
Where she said at Land Sharks, and she goes, I don't know if you know this or not, but they have really good pizza, which is why I was there with more people than I'm supposed to be there with without my mask on.
And I love she went, they got really good pizza. It's like, yeah, no, I'm sure they do, but you've been telling everyone to let their lives be destroyed.
That was such a bad line for anybody who didn't see last week's episode. That was such a bad line. Spike thought I made it up, and he did the rim shot gif that we do.
Yeah, and no, you said that Gretchen Whitmer said, well, it was really good pizza, and I'm like, and no, but it turns out she actually said
actually said it. Because I'll throw in stupid jokes every once in a while and it'll hit me with that. But that one was so bad by a politician that he thought I made it up, which is insulting to me. But
no, but it was funny. It was a funny, like, stupid one-liner, but she said it. She said it to a state that she has mangled by not letting people live their lives for over a year now, even after the Supreme Court ruled that it was unconstitutional. She's like,
did you hear her?
Who does she think she is? Abraham Lincoln? So,
so
yes, it is in Mount Pleasant, Michigan, and it is on the 25th through the 27th. And if you go to, I think it's LP, let me double check, lpmichigan.org, I think it is. Nope. Is it Michigan? Give me 1 second. I'll tell you the website you can go to. Party, there we go. It is michiganlp.org. You can get more information about the event, and you can register to be a part of it. I'd love to have you there. I will be speaking. I'll be doing all sorts of stuff, signing autographs, doing Q&A, hanging out with my peeps, and hopefully we're organizing to talk with some of the tribal nations there to talk about tribal sovereignty. Maybe I can float our sanctuary nation for everything plan that we just came up with now.
So speaking of shameless plugs.
Yes.
Joe Biden.
Oh, wow. Yes. Wow.
Ooh, man, I thought about that one like four minutes ago, and I was like, God, I can't wait to get to the end of Joe Biden was speaking at Joint Base Langley and Eustis in the Commonwealth of Virginia ahead of Memorial Day, where he wants to make sure that everybody stays cool, just so you know. Being sure to thank Governor Blackface for all he has done to support the troops in Virginia before this weird off-the-cuff moment right in the middle of his speech.
I'm especially honored to share the stage with Brittany and Jordan and Nathan and Margaret Catherine. I love those barrettes in her hair, man. I tell you what, and look at her. She looks like she's 19 years old, sitting there with her, like a little lady with her legs crossed. Brittany, you're doing triple duty as a.
So we all know that Joe Biden he has creepy moments. And then he has those moments that are.
Why is he so creepy?
Like you know that before he goes out to do any speech, his handlers are sitting there going, Joe,
please.
Joe, just read the teleprompter.
Just don't say things about girls.
Just read the teleprompter. Don't say anything else at all, because we don't know what's going to leave your mouth. Just read the words on the screen as they are being highlighted. Follow the bouncy ball, Joe. Just follow the bouncy ball.
Say this. And then she look at her braids and her hair. She looks like no, Joe, just read, talk about housing.
I could not imagine being one of his handlers as he starts going off coffee. I'm here with Brittany and the Nathaniel and whatever, I don't know, and little Mary Catherine. Look at her with the barrettes in her hair. She just looks like a 19. It's just like, no, Joe, shut up. Shut up, Joe. Shut up.
It's not even why is he so creepy, because there's a lot of creepy people out there. How did he become the president of America? And don't say Trump, because I know that's the answer. But
I was going to say because he didn't do mean tweets.
I know, because he didn't. No mean tweets. But I don't know. I think I'd rather someone tweet meanly than say that shit. Jesus. God. What the hell? Like, why?
I saw that video and I was like, well, there's no way I'm not putting that on the air.
No, gosh.
I absolutely am putting that on the air.
It would be negligent journalism not to tell people how creepy.
We'd be CNN if we were.
My God. Ah, what a freaking weirdo.
Right?
Like, what an absolute gosh.
He got more votes than anybody in history.
I know. No, people saw that and went, well, at least he's not orange.
More votes than anybody in history.
Anyone in history. So speaking of things that are depressing, Amtrack has asked the government for $75 billion with a B to service improvements along 25 existing routes that almost no one uses because it's Amtrack, the creation of another 39 that no one will use, and the expansion of services to 160 new cities across the country. in the name of environmentalism, because nothing says the environment like trains, just a chugging along.
Now,
trains.
Here's the
trains.
thing. Here's the thing. Their argument is less cars on the road, less people driving to travel will create less CO2, blah, blah, blah. Get it. All right, fine. I get your argument. What they also asked Congress was for the power to sue private railroads that don't prioritize Amtrak's passenger trains. The majority of these private railroads are like about 70% of the miles Amtrak trains travel are private owned, and they are all freight.
That's what we actually use them for.
Exactly. They are all freight railroads, and they are used in order to make sure that goods get around the country in the cleanest way possible.
Mm-hmm. Because unlike people, that's actually a good way to move freight.
Right.
They move it to different locations where it's then unloaded onto trucks who then go and move this up. And actually, we'll talk about that in a second. Go ahead.
Right. So if this happens,
yeah,
a vast majority of the freight in this nation will have to be moved to trucks.
Yeah.
And the trucks will now be driving across the country, releasing more CO2 than the cars would have of the people that were on the train.
Yep. Oh, and the cost of all the goods and services you get. I know you were probably thinking, man, it's way too cheap to get stuff I need. Well, good news, because this would make it go up. Now, you're probably thinking, yeah, schmuck, you're always complaining about stuff, but libertarians, I bet you don't have a solution to this. Actually, we do. It's called repealing the damn Jones Act, because it's the Jones Act that has us using freight as the freight rail as the primary means of moving freight across the country. So it's actually cheaper, minus the Jones Act, it's actually cheaper to use boats to ship things from one side of the country over to the other side of the country using the Panama Canal. Thanks to the Jones Act, which exponentially drives up the cost of using maritime freight distribution or shipping, it now makes it where it costs less comparatively to use trains. So the whole use of freight trains isn't because it's actually the best and most efficient way to do it, and certainly not the most environmentally friendly way to do it. It would actually be way cheaper and more environmentally friendly to do it by boat, but thanks to the Jones Act, we're now still using trains. So if they repealed the Jones Act, that would free up the rails quite a bit. It would also lower the cost of the freight that's being moved across the country. It would actually make freight, right now, it's cheaper to ship something from China to California or from China to New York than from California to New York or New York to California, thanks to the Jones Act. Get rid of the Jones Act, we're more competitive there, we're more environmentally friendly and moving stuff within the country, and we free up the rails to use them for whatever the hell they want. No one wants to use rails. Rail usage is only because of regulation and subsidy. So the real answer is to be environmentally friendly by getting rid of regulations that move things to things that are less environmentally friendly.
Yeah, he kind of covered everything else in the notes right there.
Now, Joe Biden did make a statement about the situation with Amtrak. He has for a long time talked a lot about Amtrak, and he did want to weigh in quite a bit.
And I had a nurse nurses at Walter Reed Hospital who would bend down and whisper in my ear. They'd go home and get me pillows. They would make sure they'd actually, probably nothing ever taught in, you can't do it in the COVID time, but they'd actually breathe in my nostrils to make me move, to get me moving.
That's a good point.
You know, that is the single greatest sound bite that we have ever found.
Yeah. It's why we will continue using it
forever.
Ad infinitum. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, forever. Good news, everybody. Jack Casey is in the comments, so apparently he made enough money to bond out. So
we freed Jack Casey, everyone. Good job.
We freed Jack Casey. Good job to all of you who went to theroyalgreen.com and purchased Jack Casey's books. So he is out and he is safe. And we'll find out what happens once he goes to trial.
Jacob in the comment says, I got hairy legs that turn blonde in the sun is my favorite random phrase to say out loud. Joe Biden's as well. That's his. Yeah. That and Corn Pop was a bad dude are his go-tos.
Corn Pop was a bad dude.
I actually saw it on Twitter where it was on Black Twitter and people were sharing that clip of Joe Biden and they're like, he's calling us roaches and he's talking about how he made us touch his hair. And I'm like, oh, you just found this out.
You just saw this?
We've been
talking about this for 2 years.
Like 2018, I think, when this came, or 2019 when this came out. We've been talking about this. Sarah Foster mentions LNG, natural gas conversion for 18-wheelers. There's a ton of different things that would make the use of the moving of freight and people way more cheap and way more safe and way more environmentally or friendly. You're going to be shocked at why it's not happening. It rhymes with schmegulations. Speaking of schmegulations, we schmegulate the next segment of this show, which is, of course, the personal injury attorney, Chris Reynolds, attorney at law, anchor call-in moment, where you can go to anchor.fm/muddied waters, and you can leave messages for us, and we will answer them during this segment, the personal injury attorney, Chris Reynolds, attorney at law, anchor call-in moment. Now, in addition to leaving us messages, you can also press that old donate button and become a monthly member of the Spike and Matt Chris Reynolds Club.
Show thing. Segment.
The Spiky Mouse Club. We're going to work on the name of that, but you can go to anchor.fm/muddywaters and you can leave us some fantastic messages, just like the ones that we're about to play right. We don't have any.
Yeah, I forgot to tell you that we don't have any Chris Reynolds calls. I knew there was something I needed to tell you. So yeah, we don't have any messages this week. Some could blame the fact that I did not do a call for it on Monday to say, hey, be sure to insert your questions at anchor.fm/muddied waters before 7:00 tomorrow. Others could blame Clubhouse because now everybody's just talking on there and they don't want to waste their voice on Anchor.
That's true.
So let's all right, everybody in the comments, just roll off some questions and we'll answer three of them.
Give us a couple questions and we'll answer the first 4 of them.
Sure.
We'll
answer the first 4 of them. People on YouTube.
Andrea mentions that liquid natural gas is much more complicated and expensive to transport and store. It is more it's more complicated. It doesn't necessarily have to be more expensive. I was actually talking with someone who is in this space, who is actually coming up with a way to liquefy natural gas and be able to have micro-processing centers that can actually liquefy the gas because it's compressing it. And it's not, a lot of the expense comes from federal regulations that are making it prohibitively expensive to liquefy it, to compress it, and then to ship it. It is 6 times more or 8 times more dense than, or 80 times, much more dense than regular gasoline, and is much cleaner than gasoline or diesel or anything else. And it can easily, you can retrofit engines or make engines that just burn on natural gas. Like, it is, I think it's going to be that bridge as the electric vehicle space continues to become more and more efficient and displace the combustion engine model. it's going to be that liquid natural gas is going to be that gap, that kind of stop gap between that time until eventually electric is the most efficient way to be able to transport people and freight and whatever else on the land. And then after that, long after electric displace, like battery operated vehicles displace internal combustion on the ground, you're still going to need it for the air, for like airplanes and things like that, and possibly for maritime purposes as well. And LNG can work there as well. So it's actually it's a pretty cool thing. Let's see, we have some questions here.
Yeah, there's.
Robin Dominic, best fundraising ideas. Smash Room.
I was going to say the Smash Room that Liz Terwilliger came up with. Fantastic. Fantastic idea. Loved it.
So there's a great way to, I'll do this shameless plug again. Another great way to raise funds is to have people pay to come and shoot guns with me at a gun range. And I know what you're thinking. Hey, Spike, are you going to do that? Yep, I sure am. On July 17th, I will be in Florida, in
Pinellas County,
Florida, at the Philosopher and Spike Cohen shooting event at the, doesn't say where.
Oh God, it's at
a range.
It's the largest range. It's like the largest closed gun range in America.
It's at the Reload Quality Indoor Shooting Range in Tarpon Springs, Florida, and we will be doing that on Saturday evening. We're also going to do a talk and photo op before that, a VIP mixer afterwards, and you are if you go to. I'm going to get the link. If you go, I'm going to get the link to how you can be a part of this. There we go. It's on Eventbrite. And you can be a part of this. I'm going to put it in the comments now. And but if you just Google Philosopher Spike Cohen range event, it's the first thing that comes up. And if you go to Spike Cohen, I gotta remember to keep plugging this. If you go to spikecohen.com and go down to my upcoming events, it's listed there, happening in July.
You have a website now?
I have a website, spikecohen.com.
Oh.
Did I not tell you that?
No.
Yeah, spikecohen.com.
Oh. And for anybody who's going to that event with the Philosopher and Spike, Sarah and I will also be there. So you will get a chance to meet the entire Muddied team. Well, not Cajun and Eskimo, but the people who have been here for a while. The original
core Muddied
The original,
team.
Well,
you know what? I mean, Cajun and Eskimo can come. We're giving them like over a month's notice.
That's true. They can come. I just don't want to guarantee that they're going to meet.
No, we can't guarantee it. I mean, it would be a schlep for Nullick, but
right,
could get there.
I mean, if she started walking now, I feel
she'd die.
She would get to Anchorage in time
and die.
And we don't.
Well, probably not.
That.
Actually, she wouldn't die. She
wouldn't die. She'd be fine.
Yeah, no, she'd be fine. She'd eat bear along the way.
She would just pack bear in her back, in her satchel.
On the way there, there'd be this red line of carnage of where she made her way through to I love her so much.
She does have sleigh dogs though, apparently, according to Cajun. So.
Oh, okay. Well, see, that speeds her up by about triple. So.
Up until she gets to the lower 48 where there's no snow.
Then it slows her down because it doesn't have wheels.
Quite a bit,
actually. It's kind of depressing to watch dogs have to try to do that. But Noel should be able to get. We'll see. No guarantees. But Matt and Sarah and Tasha and I will be there, and that is a great way to raise money by coming and shooting guns with us. That was actually proposed as an idea during the campaign, and we had tens of thousands of dollars in pledges from people who wanted to do it, and then it got shot down. Because so that's that question. Um, let's see.
Well, Malik has a good point. The salmon are running and she has to fish.
Oh, okay. Well, then, yeah. No,
you can't fault her for that. But as soon as the salmon are done, I actually knew that the salmon were running then because of my short period of time in Alaska.
So Zeno Bell asks, just a question on how you feel on regulation of the development of new forms to harness energy for new EV vehicles. I think that it shouldn't be regulated and that the market is going to provide way better things than government's going to give us. For example, right now, the cleanest, safest, most environmentally friendly and cheapest form of energy, bar none, is nuclear. And when I say nuclear, sometimes people go, oh my gosh, nuclear? What about 3 Mile Island, Fukushima, Hiroshima, or not Hiroshima, that's not an example of nuclear energy. Chernobyl is what I meant, not Hiroshima. I guess technically Hiroshima's going to recover from this. Chernobyl, 3 Mile Island, and Fukushima. My gosh, Spike. Yes, those are the 3 times something happened. Now, I can't even begin to list off all of the accidents and deaths that have happened from other mass forms of energy. It's like how air travel is so safe that we can name the times that it has failed. Commercial air travel has failed in the past few years. That's how nuclear is. It is easily the safest and the cheapest and the most environmentally friendly of all of the forms of mass production of energy right now. And the only reason that it isn't widespread is because of government regulation. And in fact, it's holding back innovations in the nuclear space like thorium salt reactors and other things like that, because again, it's so heavily regulated that it's prohibitively expensive to make a new nuclear power plant. That stops us from being able to have the plentiful, cheap energy we need to make new innovations in energy. You can't make new forms of energy without having to be able to expend the energy to research the new forms of energy. So the answer is get government out of it.
So Sally Ann asked, hang on a second, I just had it, and then somebody commented. Sally Ann asked about what we think about where did you go? There it is. What do you have to say about the cyber attack on the JBS meat processing company? Now, so all of you may remember just a few short weeks ago when the Colonial Pipeline got a similar thing happened. And they got hacked by some ransomware and they shut down oil to basically the entire East Coast and ended up paying a $5 million ransom, I believe, to make sure that they would let go, because, that's how ransoms and blackmail work.
That's what works well. When you keep paying it, then that really shows them.
Right. When you continually give them more money, they really enjoy it. And then they realize that it works. Also, I don't know how true this is. I saw it on a guy's show that I used to really respect, but he's gotten a little out there recently. But he said that they didn't even hack the infrastructure of Colonial and only the billing. Is that true?
I don't know. I just know they got hacked, and I know that they shut everything down because they didn't want it to be more widespread. So it may have been possible that it just affected billing, but they shut down the network because they didn't want it to infect the rest of the system or something. That I'm not sure.
No, it's not Alex Jones, Ken. So yeah, I saw that and I was like, why would they shut down the infrastructure but yeah, that makes sense. So with the JBS meat processing, I was reading a little bit about that this morning. It's the same sort of thing. They've already shown that they're going to pay. And this is one of the largest meat production companies in America. This is going to, we can say roughly since January 6th, because I can't think of the exact dates, but roughly since, the attack on the Capitol. meat prices, specifically red meat prices, have been hit by inflation harder than anything else in the grocery store. Did you know that?
I knew it was one of the highest. I know it was like
it's
and dairy and
dairy.
Lumber were like building supplies, meat and dairy were like the three biggest sectors that were being hardest hit by price increases. Yeah.
This is what you're going to see is you're going to see even a higher cost of meat production because they're going to shut down, like they're going to have to shut down production lines if it's the same sort of situation.
Right.
Much like they did with the Colonial Pipeline. When Colonial paid, they showed that companies will. And that means that they're going to continue doing it to large producers in America.
Yeah. Now, this goes to the question, and you're 100% right. When you negotiate with hostage takers, they keep taking hostages because you showed them you're going to pay them. That's a problem. Here's the other part of the problem. Going back to the pipeline, Colonial Pipeline. Why the hell is there one pipeline that's providing nearly half of the energy needs for the entire East Coast? You're probably wondering. Wouldn't there be like different competition to be able to provide different types of energy and different types of pipelines and different means of production? Yeah, you would if you didn't have the government so heavily regulating it in the first place. Now, far be it for me to be a libertarian and blame everything on regulation, but here I go. The reality is that when the market is severely limited and bottlenecked to create mega profits for crony businesses at the behest of those cronies for the politicians that they put in place, this is what happens. You can have a single hacking of a single system of a single company completely shut down your supply of that thing, or at least greatly reduce your supply of that thing. Previously oil, and now in this case, beef. The reason we have this factory farm big ag system in place to begin with is because the U.S. Department of Agriculture is increasingly driving up the regulatory burden, the cost, the barrier of entry costs to even be a supplier, a commercial supplier of agricultural goods, food and things like that in the first place, which means that the farms are getting bigger and bigger and bigger and more and more and more centralized. People assume it's because that's more efficient. It is not. It is not more efficient. It is incredibly bloated, incredibly wasteful. There's a tremendous amount of waste that's happening as a result of it, not to mention the environmental damage and the health concerns and everything else. It's bloated and inefficient, but it's the only way to do business, because if you keep driving up the cost of business and if you keep subsidizing the smaller farmers to not produce crops and meat, this is what happens. And now, instead of having thousands of different providers to choose from so that if this company gets hacked, oh, well, that's too bad. They're going to have to figure that out. But there's 999 other people to be able to provide it. Now, that's really about it. They're one of the few people in the game. This is what happens when bottlenecks are created to protect corporate profits by politicians at the behest of the cronies who put them in office. One of the many bad things that comes, in addition to reduced access to the things that you need, increased pricing, and another terrible part of that is if something goes down, if they have a leak, or if they have a hacking, or if they have a recall or a shutdown. Remember when romaine lettuce, you couldn't get any? These are the things that happen when things are bottlenecked as a result of the regulatory capture that comes from government. Get rid of the regulations, decentralize the power, free the markets, and you're going to have cheaper prices, more access, more disruption and innovation, which leads to better things coming out of that market. And when something like this happens, you don't completely shut down that market.
So also, speaking of regulation, especially on the gas industry, earlier today, I'm certain everybody out there has noticed that gas prices have gone up.
Yes.
A little bit. Roughly a third.
Slightly.
Yeah. So earlier today, the Biden administration announced that it will suspend all oil and gas contracts in Alaska's Arctic National Wildlife Refuge amid gas prices rising. So he shut down Keystone, which I've never been a big fan of Keystone Pipeline because they took the land. They just took it. They were like, no, we're going to take that land.
Keystone was an eminent domain nightmare. Yeah, I was not a fan of Keystone at all. Yeah.
Am I a fan of pipelines? Yeah. I want you to get the land the way you're supposed to get it.
Yes, exactly.
Don't use it for eminent domain. Don't say eminent domain. We need it. So we're going to give you, the fair market value of your land. And if it's your house that we're taking, sorry, even if you've lived there for 40 years or whatever. I don't know if that's an actual story, but that's how it works. So he shut down Keystone, which would have helped with gas and oil prices throughout all of America. And then he shut down in New Mexico he shut down any of the contracts in New Mexico or Arizona. I don't remember. It was like right when he first started. And now he's shutting down the contracts in Alaska. Gas is going to get very expensive very soon. In Southern California right now, it's roughly $6 a gallon. Where I am, it's $2.80, $2.90. I have no idea what it is where Spike is because I don't live there.
It's about the same. Yeah. It's I think a little bit less. It's like last time I got gas, it was $2.60 something, but that was a few days ago. So it might be in the 280s now.
Yeah. I got it right before Memorial Day weekend and it was like $2.70. And then the next day it was up because it's Memorial Day weekend.
Right. So it's probably the same here. Yeah.
So because of regulations, because of government, because of, government intervention into so many different aspects of our lives, we are going to continually see these prices going up and these prices going back down, depending on who is in office. $2.99 in Ohio. But it's another example of government regulation making it impossible for us to live lives without being constantly, for lack of a better word, shat on by the policies of the administration that is in office.
And intentionally so. So the Biden administration wants to make people want to have these renewables, quote unquote. And so they're driving up the cost of gasoline, thinking that will make people say, oh, well, then I guess we can't use gasoline anymore. We better use these renewables. That's not what it makes people do. It makes people say we need the price of gas to go down because my car, my vehicle that I use every day uses gasoline. This is what central planning brings us. Because central planning is done by people who are so disconnected from reality, they have no fucking clue how life works. Because it works for them, however the hell they want it to, because they make other people do stuff for them. So if they create a new market reality where everyone has to switch to renewables and everyone has to switch to electric vehicles, no biggie to them because they just rob those same people to get the stuff that they need. For the rest of us who have to actually provide value to others in order to get the money that we need to be able to live our lives, not so much. And so this is what ends up happening. These bad things happen. Keystone was an absolute eminent domain nightmare. Let's be clear about it. And by the way, that's not why they shut it down. They shut it down because of so-called environmental concerns, even though pipelines are way safer to transport oil and other fossil
transporting
fuels
it by truck.
By truck or train. Give me a break. It's not even comparable. It is exponentially more. I know I've used exponentially many times, but every time it's been correctly used on this episode, it is exponentially safer and better and more efficient. The problem is when you have the government say, oh, nice 1,000 acres of land you have, I'm going to buy, by force, about a total of 3-acre strip right in the middle of your property. It's going to cut it right down the middle. I'm not going to pay you for the fact that I've just rendered a good bit of your property unusable because I've cut it in half. I'm going to pay you for that 50 foot by however many foot property that I've taken from you, completely irrespective of the fact that I've just rendered the rest of your property or a good bit of your property unusable or less usable by putting a freaking pipeline right in the middle of it. So here's your money. You can't do anything about it. They were also doing this to tribal lands. This was eminent domain is terrible for many reasons, and eminent domain for something that is ultimately a private. This is coming from from private companies who are making a profit off of it. Great, pay people what the land's worth, and if you're making all this profit, fantastic. Pay people what their land's worth. You can find an agreeable way to get people to sell their land, and if this one doesn't want to sell their land, maybe this one will. And if it costs more, good, because it needed to have cost more. You were having it cost less because you were using government force to force people to sell it for pennies on the dollar what you were actually taking from them. So that's a bad thing. So we're not shedding tears over Keystone. And yes, it's terrible that jobs were lost, but that's like saying, we should seize this person's farmland and build a mini mall on it because think of all the jobs it'll create. No, you can create jobs by buying property justly and then using it for commercial purposes. That's fantastic. You can't rob people and then say, but think of the jobs, right? It's terrible that those jobs were lost. And the people whose jobs were lost, they weren't the ones that were trying to rob people. They're the innocent bystander victims of bad policy on top of bad policy. But that doesn't justify the theft that happened as a result of it. Not allowing drilling in Anwar, not allowing drilling offshore. They are intentionally, and also the stimulus policy that's driving up the cost of everything. They want you desperate. I've said this many times. They want you desperate. They want you scared. They want you anxious. They want you unable to afford just to live because then you become more dependent on them. Harry Brown, probably the best presidential candidate the Libertarian Party has ever had, in my opinion. Harry Brown once said, government is good at one thing. They know how to break your legs, hand you some crutches from the wallet, from the money they stole from you, they pay for the crutches, hand you some crutches and then say, hey, if it wasn't for me, you wouldn't have those crutches. Well, yeah, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't need them either. And this is what government does. They make you dependent on them, and then they help you by robbing you to give you back some of what they took from you, as long as you can prove that you need it. And that is the story of what government does to you, and that's what they're doing in gas.
Yes.
Thank you.
Can't say anything more.
You could. I guess we can do one more question and then go
sure. We have to scroll up. Oh, I've got one. Why?
Just why?
Just why?
Well, that's a good one. You could take that one.
Why? Because we
love you. SPIKE Spiky Club. Well, we didn't.
Nope, you did that wrong. It's SPI. I'm Spike Cohen. KEY. Why? You are the power. MOUSE.
We're gonna have to definitely come up with a different name for that.
Yeah.
So speaking of absolute scumbags, murderous scumbags with the most punchable faces ever.
Now, in all fairness, we have used that phrase on this show a lot. We used it about Nick Sandman.
Oh, but you know what? And ultimately, it turned out he didn't even do anything wrong. But yeah,
that doesn't mean he didn't have a punchable face.
Yeah, no, he definitely had one of those kind of faces.
He did. Yeah, he had a punchable face. And we used it about David Hogg.
Oh God.
We've used it about David Hogg and Nick Sandman, but this is the first adult that we've really ever
We've graduated to picking fights with adults. So let's talk about David Chipman.
Chipman. So he's Joe Biden's pick to be head of the ATF. So he sat in front of the Senate last week to discuss his potential disappointment.
Disappointment. The disappointment.
Disappointment for many of us. But before we get to how that went, we were lucky enough to acquire video of Chipman's vision for American gun owners, and we wanted to share that with you.
Yes, we are very happy to show this to you. That's not inaccurate.
That's not. Nope, that's not inaccurate. Even a little bit. No, I will say that superfan Sarah Anderegg did not like the many takes of that video that I made because I just kept playing screaming noises.
Yeah, no, that would get annoying, and I'm glad I don't live with you. But I mean, it's accurate. That is, he liked it. He was happy. He posed in front of that exact thing happening. We all remember David Chipman.
In the trial, he denied it. In the hearing, he denied that was him.
Yeah, no, that's him. Look at that. Look at that face. So, I mean, we all remember him pushing these falsehoods about the events in Waco. We'll put up some of the stuff he said, saying that the Branch Davidians were shooting down using 50 caliber Barrett rifles to shoot down Texas Air National Guard helicopters. It's just total nonsense that is completely true. He still refuses to edit or retract his statement after being called out.
Right.
He's an absolute liar, and he uses his lies to justify murdering children.
There was a post that he made right at the beginning of COVID. I don't know if I put this I don't think I did. So there was a post that he made right at the beginning, like it was March of last year, and Liberty University was sending kids back to school. And he compared Liberty University to a cult. Now, from the man who was at least partially responsible for the burning of innocent people in Waco, that has to be a really terrifying thing for him to say.
Yeah, because their justification was, the justification was, they're a cult. Yeah, that's a reason to burn children, huh?
Right.
David Koresh was grooming some of them and having sex with them. That's terrible. He should be arrested for that, which is why you should have arrested him one of the many times that he took his motorcycle to town by himself for hours at a time. To get coffee. You could have literally just scooped him up easily with like a beat cop with no problem. Instead, you chose to conflagrate and create a standoff with a heavily armed compound and murder his victims. If it's true that he did those things, you set his victims on fire with their parents.
And you only did any of it because you were afraid that Clinton was going to cut the funding to the ATF, and you needed reasoning to have your agency.
Yeah. And so now you're aiming that ire at schools that reopened a few months before the Department of Education said it was, and CDC said it was fine to do so. That's not scary, huh?
So after he left the ATF, he became a lobbyist for the gun control industry.
Shocking.
Because the person that you want in charge of the ATF is somebody who has been fighting to make sure that it was legal for everybody to own firearms in this nation. He has called gun owners racist.
Yeah, Black Panther's unavailable for comment. Yeah,
you're right. He called gun owners racist. He has compared them to, well, I think I have some of those. Yeah, I got those later. So the man who calls himself a gun expert considers himself to be the king of the gun experts, had trouble answering simple questions like this.
What's an assault weapon?
Yeah, Senator, the bill to ban assault weapons is
what is your
dozens of pages.
Of
There's no way I could define an assault weapon.
You don't have any. You're going to run this agency, and you don't have a definition of assault weapon.
But I would be enforcing the definition that members of Congress
you're going to be issuing rules and regulations. Just give me your definition.
I'll give you one definition that ATF.
Give me your definition.
Uses. One definition that ATF currently.
Give me your definition.
I can give you one definition.
If you want to answer my question, how can I vote for you?
I'm not a fan of Kennedy, like in general, but
yeah,
he was not the only person to ask this line of questioning. Many of the senators did. They just wanted him to come out on the record to say what it was. Tom Cotton, who I can't stand. I think that man is villainous scum. He was one of the ones that was there also asking the same line of questioning. And he was saying, what do you consider an assault weapon? And he says, well, the ATF defines it. And what he says that the ATF's definition of an assault rifle would be any semi-automatic rifle capable of accepting a detachable magazine with a caliber above 22, which this comes from an ATF memo. And it's like heavily buried, and it's not like public knowledge. It's something that if he hadn't said it, none of us would have even known it existed. But he kept saying, when Tom Cotton was questioning him, he kept saying, it is up to you to tell me what an assault weapon, you have to define it. He goes, so you want us to pass a bill saying that we're banning assault weapons, and then you don't want any input on that, and you just want us to tell you what an assault weapon is? And he was like, yes, I will just enforce the laws. And I'm like, you are a man who was fighting to get rid of the AR-15. We're going to get to that in a little bit, but you are a man that was fighting to get rid of the AR-15 for the entire nation because of how dangerous it is. And you want zero say on this? I don't believe you.
Yep.
And I don't believe that you will only stick to the law. You will, as many of the executive agencies do, just make your own proclamations and then do it.
They did it with the honey badger. So you know what is a caliber above 22? 9mm, because that's .38, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah.
A .223.
Yeah, .223. But also, depending on your definition of above, pretty much all pistol rounds would be considered that. And depending on how the ATF wants to decide what is or is not a rifle, I've heard some declare it to mean anything with a rifled barrel, which would include a pistol.
Anything with the forearm. What's that called? I forget the name of it. The forearm grip or whatever.
Yeah, and anything with a detached, extendable forearm grip. Yeah, any of those things. Anything with a barrel. So they tell you can't have a barrel shorter than a certain length, but then they're saying you can't have a pistol with a barrel longer than a certain length. So you could conceivably have a situation where any weapon above 22 caliber, which means pretty much all pistols, including except for 22 pistols, that go bang every time you pull the trigger, could potentially be labeled an assault rifle. And do you think for a second that the gun grabbers would be the least bit upset about that overreach of definition? This is someone who lied about children that he helped set on fire, saying that the people there were using 50 caliber Barretts to shoot down Texas Air National Guard helicopters, even though none of that happened and there were no Barretts recovered.
No Barretts were recovered. They did. So it was in the report from the Department of Justice. They shot at helicopters. They did not use 50 caliber Barretts. They just probably fired handguns. Probably.
Yeah. This is
but
who is
nothing
saying,
was shot down.
I definitely don't want to tell you what an assault rifle is. What he thinks an assault rifle is should horrify you, because it's anything.
Everything. It's everything.
It's if you don't have to pull a lever or pump something or do some action before pulling the trigger each time, and it's over 22, which again, over would include the vast majority of pistol rounds. More than likely, if you have a pistol, it's 9mm. That would be over 22. Then yeah.
He also said, I got really worked up during a lot of these notes, by the way, just so everybody knows. He also said, it is well within the powers of Congress to balance the rights we have under the Constitution and the responsibility as a nation to keep us safe.
I agree. We should be disarming government, or at least greatly reducing the armaments that they have, considering that the average law enforcement agent is several hundred times more likely than a civilian to kill someone. Yeah. Despite being less than 0.5% of the population, law enforcement agents commit over 10% of the homicides. Interesting. So yes, I agree with him. We should definitely be disarming government, including him. So if I agree with anything with David Chipman on, it's that man should never have a gun ever again.
Ever. He admits to being a gun owner. He admits to it multiple times, and he's like, "No, you have the right to own you have the right to own a weapon."
Definitely not have a gun ever. By the way, in totally unrelated and unsurprising news, David Chipman is a principal in a company that sells gunshot detection software, which would be much more in demand if you effectively made all weapons illegal, or the vast majority of weapons illegal, and then had to have, government agencies and police departments make sure that they found any gunshot that was happening anywhere so they could investigate to find out if it was a assault rifle. Coincidentally, David Chipman would make billions, many millions of dollars from
billions.
That. Yeah. Totally unrelated.
Billions.
So Mike Lee asked about comments Chipman had made comparing first-time gun owners to Tiger King, and telling them that if they were going to try to fight zombies, they would be better off hiding their weapons behind their tins of beef jerky.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He said new gun owners might think they are diehard, ready to go, but unfortunately, they're more like Tiger King, and they're putting themselves and their families in danger. Secure that gun locked and loaded and hide it behind the cans of tuna and beef jerky that you have stored in a cabinet, and only bring that out if the zombies start to appear. Now, this is a man who says he's also a gun owner.
Right. And
this is projection. It's called projection.
So we already know that this man is vile. Just vile. Like, for all of you out there who drink heavily and you will occasionally vomit and you dry heave and you like get that stomach acid stuff that comes up and it burns all the way up and as it comes out, that is who this man is as a person, because this was his response to Mike Lee asking him about that quote.
With regards to the comments that I made on Cheddar, that was a lengthy interview. What I was trying to use is self-depreciating humor. The person who had a gun storm behind his tuna and beef jerky was me. And bullshit. I was saying that...
First of all, look at this face. How do you... Look at that, like, how does your mouth look like... He looks like the stereotypical, perpetually offended feminist mouth. Like that fish mouth thing. Where his mouth does the opposite of what your mouth... Your upper lip isn't supposed to be curved up and your lower lip straight. That's supposed to be the opposite when you talk. Like, what the hell is this thing?
I don't even know how to do that with my mouth.
You can't. You literally... Look, hold on. I'll go back to this. You have to...
there is no...
So imagine you have to look at that mirror every day. Okay, you have to look at that, and eventually you're so just outraged, you're like, no one should be able to have a gun! Anyway.
Except for me.
Except for me!
Except for me.
What's an assault weapon?
Oh, no, wrong one.
Here. Nope, not that one.
That one.
With regards to the comments that I made on...
And that voice. Anyway.
Cheddar, that was a lengthy interview. What I was trying to use is self-depreciating humor. The person who had a gun storm behind his tuna and beef jerky was me. And I was saying that all of us were acting in new ways as a response to COVID. And I thought that people should be very clear that when they bring a gun in their home, they need to be properly trained. So again, we have oftentimes the ability to talk to the media. Sometimes that's taken out of context, and I'm sorry for any confusion I made when I was trying to point out the fact that sometimes bringing a gun into your home if you're untrained is a particularly dangerous thing to do.
Okay, so here's what he said again. Might think they are diehard, ready to go, but unfortunately they're more like Tiger King and they're putting themselves and their families in danger. So he's now saying, oh, I'm totally just saying I'm putting my family in danger. Well, then why the hell do you want to head a law enforcement agency?
Then why do you own a gun? If you understand this, why do you own a gun?
And why do you want to be in charge of people and guns? If you yourself are in fact, and I quote, putting themselves and their family in danger, then what the hell do you have any business owning a weapon or commanding other people who own weapons? You don't. So Lee went on to ask a little bit further.
When you gave a similar comment to the Salt Lake Tribune, my hometown paper, in response to the legislation I had filed dealing with sound suppressors for firearms, recognizing that there are legitimate medical reasons why someone might want to protect their hearing, using a combination of earplugs and sound suppressors. You said, quote, the only people that benefit from this bill are gun lobbyists and criminals who want easier access to deadly weapons. That's why this irresponsible legislation couldn't get passed when Republicans had complete control of Congress. Instead of making it easier for firearms that could be used in ambushes and other attacks to enter our streets. Congress should focus on making the job of police officers who are trained to serve and protect the communities and their families safer. You're saying that the only people who could benefit from them are gun lobbyists and criminals who want to kill people. Is that statement also taken out of context? If so, what was the additional context?
Senator, I was trying to contrast the fact that silencers are legal. You purchase them through the National Firearms Act. The people who want them unregulated are those that want to have easier access.
You're not going to spit downwind and then tell us it's just raining. That's not what you said at all. Nor is that the impact that this bill would have.
No, that was a total lie. First of all, they're not effectively legal anymore. And then second of all, that's not what you said. You literally said that only... And by the way, let's keep something in mind, because I blame Hollywood for part of this. People think that a suppressor, because they call it a silencer, there is no such thing. They think that when you put a suppressor on a gun, it goes... It does not. It is still loud, okay? If you put a suppressor on a gun, and I'm in this room, and you're in another room on another floor, and I shoot it, you still hear it. Through all the other rooms, you still hear it. It just doesn't sound, it doesn't hurt your ears, and it doesn't temporarily deafen everyone in this room. So the purpose of a suppressor is to make it make the sound tolerable enough in combination with a hearing
ear protection.
Yeah, with ear protection to protect your ears when you're in like an indoor firing range or something like that. Okay, it is not this, Assassin's Creed. There is no such thing. That's not real. That's a poorly crafted movie plot. There is no such thing. It will make a good bit of noise and alert anyone that a shooting is happening. Another use is if you live in an area that has a shooting range outdoors, and you don't want all of your neighbors within a mile to be pissed off every time someone shoots the gun, because it does greatly reduce the sound of that gun in a mile away or a half mile away. Now, I wonder, since we're talking about who would be the only people that would be interested in something, if I were to own a company that created devices and sold devices that could detect gunshots from miles away, and someone created a hearing protection tool that would also make it harder for my devices to be able to detect gunshots, I wonder if that would have a negative impact on my ability to sell my device. This is cronyism.
Plain and simple.
And he will murder as many of you and your children as he needs to control you and to sell his devices to law enforcement. And that's it.
Yep. So going back real quick to the awful thing he said, where he says, well within the powers of Congress to balance the rights we have under the Constitution and the responsibility as a nation to keep us safe. He follows that with extending the National Firearms Act, which regulates machine guns and silencers, to all assault weapons would be a good way to balance the rights and responsibilities of Americans.
So that means, because the NFA makes it so that basically if you aren't rich, you can't own weapons that are regulated by the NFA, which are largely machine guns and automatic weapons.
And I do want to say, Mike Lee, I don't agree with him on everything, but when he was arguing with Chipman here, I had to cut out like so much of this just to get the points. But he was saying, the fucking bullshit line that he said in there about, I was saying silences are legal and you can't own them. He was like, because of a 1930 law that puts them on the blah, blah, blah. But he was like, but they're very hard to get. They're very expensive. There's massive amounts of red tape and bureaucratic nonsense that you have to go through in order to get it. And you want to make this process more difficult for more people, therefore making it where the government is then deciding whether or not somebody can own a gun. He made a very valid point that I wished I had time to put in the notes, but it was a very busy weekend.
If David Chipman had his way, poor people would have to rely even more on the police who routinely abuse them to protect them. Simple as can be. And if that's what's required for him to sell more of his ridiculous devices and become a billionaire, well, then I guess you got to crack some eggs to make that omelet. This doesn't get better because we're now including Ted Cruz, which is never good.
Which their voices not that far off from each other.
No, as I was about to cue this up, I'm like, this could be off. Let's see. So asks if he would ban the AR-15, and this is, I already am not looking forward to this.
The AR-15
There's
is
that voice.
One of, if not the most popular rifle in America. It's not a machine gun. It's a rifle. Your public position is that you want to ban AR-15s. Is that correct?
With respect to the AR-15, I support a ban as has been presented in a Senate bill and supported by the president. The AR-15 is a gun I was issued on ATF's SWAT team, and it's a particularly lethal weapon.
No, you weren't, you fucking liar.
And regulating it as other particularly lethal weapons, I have advocated for.
No, it is not.
No,
Let's just,
it is
for
not.
those who, for the uninitiated, and I hope Zodiac drilled him on this afterwards. For the uninitiated, the AR-15 is a medium game hunting rifle. It shoots a .223 round. It looks similar to, and is stylized to look similar to the M4 carbine, the M16, and actual military grade weapons. It is not even remotely the same caliber. The strength of the barrel, because it's shooting a fire, it's smaller. If you tried to shoot an M4 or M16 round in an AR-15, you would destroy the gun very quickly. It is not the same weapon. It is not even close. It is like saying that my 86 LeBaron was the same as as some souped up stock car that used the same body because it looks the same. It's not even remotely the same weapon. First of all, we should be able to own those as well, M4s and M16s and machine guns.
Absolutely.
And everything else. But let's go back to what he said. That is a lie. He was never issued an AR-15. He was not issued a gun that was originally designed to shoot hogs.
David Hogg has entered the chat.
Feral hogs. Oh, I guess that's him too.
Well, they're threatening me. So another video that I wished I had time to get, but again, the weekend got all messed up because of, we had the long weekend that we were supposed to stay cool during.
Right.
But so I ended up not having time to do everything, but it's just the way those work, I guess. The math does not make sense. It was a long weekend, but the math doesn't make sense, and somehow I had less time to do notes.
You had to stay cool. You were under vice presidential order to stay cool.
Right. They asked him about whether or not there should be armed guards at schools. Now, there are many different schools of thought on this, whether or not these should be private people who are armed, or if they should be police officers who are armed, or if the teacher should be armed.
Right.
All of that aside, just imagine that it was an all-encompassing term for any of the ways that you are okay with having armed people at schools to protect from school shootings.
Even having cops at school. Even having cops at school to protect from shooting. Yeah, anything.
Whatever. He says that he does not support armed guards at school. Instead, he suggests metal detectors and other measures like the ones used in Congress could be considered, except for the armed guards.
Yeah. In Congress. What protects people in Congress is not metal detectors. Those are all compliments for the armed people who are protecting them, because that's how you protect people, is with people with guns. That's how you protect people. Now, I wonder if one of the measures he'd like to see done is his device that detects gunshots. And you could much more easily justify having to need such a thing like that if you didn't already have armed guards there to respond. Because then your justification would be, well, we need to be able to know, make us do with his face. We need to be able to make it so that
we can hear when the gunshots go off so we can call for the armed guards to come instead of just fucking having them there to begin with.
Right.
This is cronyism.
This is cronyism at its absolute finest.
It is hiding behind protecting you and your children. The children he will set on fire if you have a gun that he doesn't think you should be able to have. But it's all just him getting rich and having control over you. It's what all government is about. Using the power of the state to impose itself on you to enrich themselves and their friends. And that's it. That's always what it boils down to.
So a few things from the chat that I want to hit on, but most importantly, Joe Makes Drifts over on YouTube says he looks like a SpongeBob background character. And that is the most accurate thing I have ever read anywhere.
Yeah.
Now, many people are saying that the AR-15 uses a 223 or a 5.56. Chambered in 5.56. AR can also be chambered in 5.56 as well. So yes, they can't. The 223s and 5.56s. We apologize for not including the 5.56.
It's the same size bullet. You can fire it in it, but you're going to destroy your gun because the 5.56 is a much more powerful round. So, and an M16 or an M4, you can fire 223s, the AR-15 rounds in it all day long because it's more than, it's more than strong enough. The gun is more than robust enough to be able to handle that kind of round. That's the point, is just in the same way that, where I was comparing my old car to, a stock car with the same body. Yeah, I could try to burn the same fuel that it has, and I might get a few miles down the road before my car explodes, right? Like it is not the same capacity weapon. It's not even close. And there's no anyone who's familiar, and Hannah Meyer says 5.56 is way bigger, makes a way bigger hole. So it's the round itself. You can fit, like it's the same width, the same caliber, basically.
Diameter.
Or close enough to the same caliber. But the power behind it is completely different. It is not comparable. There is no comparing a medium game hunting rifle that is safe to be used by children, with minimal training, to a weapon that was designed for shooting other people. The AR-15 is not designed to shoot other people. I mean, you can use it for that, but it's not designed for home defense. It is designed for shooting varmints. Like, that's literally what it's for. Chamber pressure, that's the word I was looking for.
Yep. If the AR-15
it's got a bigger boom.
If the AR-15 was dressed up with a nice wooden handle or wooden stock, and you didn't use a detachable magazine, nobody would have an issue with it.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's black and scary, people have an issue with it.
M4 is chambered in 308. I thought M4 was chambered in. Oh, no, but they have them in 5.56 and 7.62. Yeah, I thought its primary thing was because the M4 replaced the 5.56. Yeah, it primarily fires 5.56 45 NATO, but it can also fire 7.62. Okay, all right. Have me for a second. Yeah, no, it is not comparable. There is no, it is not a weapon of war. It is a weapon of game hunting. And
yes.
I agree that we shouldn't have weapons of war in the hands of the people who are the most likely to use them to hurt other people, which is why David Chipman and his ilk should be disarmed forever.
Yeah. And the ATF, to paraphrase something that somebody says, should just be a good time weekend as opposed to a government agency.
Yeah, exactly. Convenience store.
Yeah, that's what it is. A convenient. It sounds like a fun weekend. I don't drink anymore, but don't smoke cigarettes either, or smoke cigars. I'll shoot firearms. So.
We'll just do FFF, firearms,
right.
and firearms. That's actually what's going to happen this July 17th at the Philosophers, Spike Cohen, Matt Wright, Sarah Anderegg, and Tasha Cohen, and Jack Lloyd range event. Eventbrite. I'll put the link in the comments again. You can go sign up and hang out with us in Tarpon Springs in July. and we can do that. We can firearm, and I'm sure some people
Firearm
will have
away.
alcohol and tobacco, but Matt and I don't. We just do the F.
Right.
Press
I nicotine. I don't tobacco. Everyone press F.
Everyone press F for firearms. So. Are we going to jump on Clubhouse for a little bit after this?
Yeah, we can jump on Clubhouse for a little bit.
We can do that. I won't be able to be on long because I have a very early morning of stuff to do before I get ready to head out to Delaware, and we'll talk about that in a second. But tomorrow,
for the Liberty Speaks event.
For the Liberty Speaks event in Felton, Delaware. We'll talk about that in a second. Tomorrow, on Wednesday, that's what tomorrow is, at 8 p.m., we have My Fellow Americans, and we had a guest, but they unfortunately were not able to do it, so we're having to reschedule. So unless another guest comes in, then I'll probably just be doing a Q&A session tomorrow, just having some fun with it. And and then on Thursday, you have an episode of The Writer's Block, Matt.
Yes, with Ari Gabrick. Ari Gabrick. Gabrick. Okay, I think you had a look on your face. I was like, is it not Gabrick? Have I been saying this?
I'm trying to figure. I know it's Ari, but I don't know
if it's Gabrick or Gabrick.
That's the last name. Yeah. Well, that's gonna be cool. I like Ari. Ari is involved with Outright Libertarians. And was also on the Joe Jorgensen campaign as a data analytics assistant, and is continuing to work in that capacity because that whole team is now this autonomous group that still has all that data and is working directly with libertarian campaigns, and they're continuing to refine that data, add to it from other people that are adding to it. It's great. It's what we need to have had.
And that is what we are going to. That's what we're going to be talking about for half of the show.
Cool. That is awesome. And then also tomorrow, I am doing tomorrow at 1 p.m. I'm going to be on Clubhouse with Nick Gillespie. We're going to be talking about qualified immunity and why that needs to end. And then later that evening is My Fellow Americans. Then on Thursday is The Writer's Block. And then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, come join me in beautiful Delaware. On Friday the 4th, I will be at the Liberty Speaks event in Pizza Dilly Winery in Felton, Delaware, just outside of Dover. The following day on Saturday, also at Pizza Dilly, I will be at the Delaware Libertarian Party Convention. And then at 6... or at 6. Then on the 6th, on Sunday at 10 a.m., I will be at Wheelie's Farm Stand Cafe for the Liberty Eats breakfast/brunch. And so I will be having a jam-packed weekend this coming weekend in Delaware. So come out and join me. You can go to...
It's Eventbrite. I know that.
Yeah, you can go to... For Liberty Speaks...
I may have it in my notes for Writer's Block.
Yeah, for Liberty Speaks, here is the link.
Oh, no, I don't.
And then for the convention, here is the link. Nope, that's Libertarian.
Cajun, I definitely picked up on that. Brian is the one who books our show, so hopefully he picked up on that as well. And I would love to have you as a guest on my show. Good sir.
Yeah.
Good sir. I understand that you had a guest on your show last night that he did an adequate job at being a guest.
I heard that went well. So Liberty Speaks, I have the event in the Eventbrite. And then, or have the Eventbrite link in the comments. Then LP Delaware Convention, if you go to lpdelaware.org, you can find it. And then on Sunday, we're doing Liberty Eats. And I don't know if there's an actual thing for that, but it's at Wheelie's Farm Stand Cafe in Newcastle, Delaware. So hope to see y'all in beautiful Delaware. I always have a great time when I'm in Delaware. And then we will join you right back here on Tuesday for the same muddy place, same muddy time for the Muddy Waters of Freedom, where Matt Wright and I parse through the week's events like the cheerful little Tuesday at 8. And our guests are Conrad Schwencher and Seiko McMillan from Virginia Beach, the Beach Bros. We'll be having them on, so that'll be fun. And yeah.
That's going to be something.
That's going to be something.
That's going to be something because I've got a couple of questions. But yeah, to everybody else, thank you for tuning in. As always, be sure. I forgot you asked the question. And then
if Matt, if someone were to go on the internet and look for us, is that possible? Please help.
You know, it would be possible. All one would have to do is head over to anchor.fm/muddiedwaters.
Again, yes, this is. Hi.
If you head over to anchor.fm/muddiedwaters, you can find all of our audio, especially you people out there who love the dulcet, sweet, sultry, sexy
tones. The
buttery tones. It's butter. It's like butter up in here. It's butter. While you're there, you can leave us messages.
Tell us things. Don't do like you did this week where you didn't leave anything, because I didn't even know that we didn't have anyone that left anything, so don't do that again.
Yep, you can leave us messages, and
yes,
you can also donate money to us.
Give us money.
And we will use that to make this show even better.
The more money you give us, the better this show will be for you and us.
Hannah Myers, for you I will say lower lash line.
Lower lash. I don't know why the lower lash line.
I don't know why she wants us to say it.
Lower lash line.
Lower lash line.
Lower lash line.
And you can find this and every other episode at muddiedwatersmedia.com.
Well, that is fantastic. I'm going to go to that website for the first time ever right now as soon as the show is over.
That's
so,
surprising.
Folks, thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow. We'll see you Thursday. I'll see you in Delaware, and we'll see you right back here next week. And thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you soon. And where we're going,
we don't need roads.